Zhu Yuan is still the only Ether DPS unit available in the game, so today I'm bringing an updated guide for Zhu Yuan with the best builds, weapons and pull recommendations for you. Starting with a quick overview, Zhu Yuan is a burst DPS unit, meaning that most of her damage comes in the stun window. You want to build enough resources on Zhu Yuan and ideally use a stunner to get the stun window faster. Then, once the enemy is stunned, you can use all your resources and benefit from Zhu Yuan's core to maximize your damage to the enemy. Her whole gameplay and kit revolves around generating shells for the stun window. Some basic attacks, dodge counters, and quick assist generates one shell for you. Assist follow-up, EX special, chain, and ultimates generates 3 shells for you. Since Zhu Yuan's damage outside of the stun window is quite minimal, it's highly recommended to not spend too much time generating shells for her. But don't waste energy with your EX special, since the damage it can provide on the stun window can be higher than some extra shells. You spend shells by holding down your basic attack button, which makes Zhu Yuan shoot on the enemy, and as long as you have shells with you, you deal ether damage to them. A full basic attack string requires 5 shells, since the last hit used 3 shells instead of a single one. Trying to shoot without shells available will deal physical damage with a low multiplier to enemies, so trying to manage your shell economy is really important. Another really important tip here is that trying to move while you're shooting will reposition Zhu Yuan and use a dash attack, which also consumes shells. This dash attack will skip straight to your last shot, which speeds up Zhu Yuan's DPS. It's really important to time it right in order to avoid wasting time on some of her animations. For the stun window, I personally recommend having at least 2 shells with you. I go through everything in slow motion so you can follow up, and then showcase the combo at the normal speed. Start with Zhu Yuan's chain attack and finish the chain on your support chain attack. I usually don't use a full chain since this allows Zhu Yuan to make the most of the stun window. Right after finishing your chain attack, swap to Zhu Yuan using a quick assist and use your EX special. Hold down your basic attack to start using your shells, and after the last shot, roll to the side and use another 3 shells. Start your EX special and, if needed, swap to the support in order to refresh buffs during Zhu Yuan's EX special animation. After the EX special, use your ultimate and once again, hold down your basic attack until you're out of bullets. Depending on how fast you can do this and if you went for a full chain attack or not, you can hit a total of 18 shells on the stun window. Here's the combo in action at the normal speed. Just be careful to not cut the EX special animation before all the shots are fired to the enemy, otherwise you lose damage. This means that for skill upgrade priority, as usual, level up your core whenever possible, since this increases the shell damage on the stun window. After this, basics will be your top priority, since that's exactly what your core wants. Follow up with your ultimate and EX special, then dodges, and lastly assist attacks. For builds, we have plenty of options, and depending on your team, the best option can change a little bit. For a good middle ground, Woodpecker Electro 4-piece will be one of the best options for you. Depending on your rotation, you can keep it with 2 stacks for the whole stun window, which helps quite a lot if you're not running attack buffs on your team. Another really great option is Hormone Punk. The attack buff is really strong, but the last few seconds won't benefit from the attack buff. So remember to use your ultimate before the buff goes away, otherwise you're going to lose a huge chunk of damage. Finally, you can also run Chaotic Metal 4-piece, but unless you're dealing with an ether weak enemy and running Nicole on your team, chances are you won't keep this with 100% uptime. For the 2-piece set, you can run any option between Woodpecker Electro, Hormone Punk, Buffer Electro, Chaotic Metal, and Branch and Blade Song. The crit rate for Woodpecker Electro is quite good, but if you're already hitting some good crit ratio, there's no need for you to use it. Now let's talk about disc stats. Disc 4 will always be either crit rate or crit damage depending on your current ratio. Remember to take into account Zhu Yuan additional ability, which gives 30% crit rate, and other crit buffs such as Nicole Mindscapes 6. These won't appear in your stat page, and you should always avoid going over 100% crit rate. For Disc 5, focus mostly on good substats. Attack's really good option for most teams, but penetration can be used as long as you're not pairing Zhu Yuan with Nicole. And for Disc 6, the only option is attack. That's it. No explanation needed. For substats, as usual, focus on the holy trinity of crit rate, crit damage, and attack. After this, look for some flat penetration and lastly, flat attack. When it comes to weapons, Zhu Yuan signature is a good option, but the value it provides is not that good. We can see here that using a huge crit 6 such as Soldier MB signature will offer you higher DPS potential. That's because her signature weapon offers lower crit stats when compared to other limited options, and damage is something Zhu Yuan easily saturates on her kit. If you don't have a good limited engine, Brimstone, Marcato Desire, and Starlight engine are really good options. Marcato is a bit hard to maximize the potential since it requires applying anomaly on the enemy, and this is something that could be a little bit hard for you. Now let's talk about her Mindscapes. Just like Haramasa, Mindscape 1 adds a good quality of life for Zhu Yuan. The quick reload effect can stack and allows you to always hit 18 shells on the stun window even if you don't have enough energy for 2 EX special casts. You can also spend extra shells outside of the stun window to deal some extra damage even before stunning the enemy. Mindscape 2 gives even more damage to your shot shells, which is something Zhu Yuan already gets quite a lot on her core skill. So you can imagine that the DPS increase is not that good. Mindscape 4 is the biggest DPS increase since it allows her shot shells to ignore 25% of the enemy resistance. Finally, something that is not extra damage, probably one of the best if not the only good Mindscape on Zhu Yuan. Lastly, Mindscape 6 gives another underwhelming DPS increase. The extra damage on her EX special are not that huge, but the reduced cost means more damage even outside of the stun window. This is not taken into account here, so depending on your team composition and how much you're fielding Zhu Yuan, the DPS increase can be higher than this. My personal recommendation is just getting her at Mindscape 0. Mindscape 1 adds some extra damage outside of the stun window, but it's not necessary if you can master the shell economy. Her signature is far from necessary, and this means she's a really good free-to-play unit. But if you plan on investing on her, Mindscape 4 is what you should look for. But since it requires a total of 5 copies of Zhu Yuan, I wouldn't recommend going for it unless she's really your waifu or you're swiping your card. For team compositions, Zhu Yuan heavily benefits from a stun unit on your team. One of the most popular teams since 1.1 is Zhu Yuan, Qingyi, and Nicole. This maximizes Zhu Yuan damage on the stun window since Qingyi can provide an extra 80% stun multiplier. Nicole is the cherry on top since she reduces the enemy defense and her fast animations can easily fit in between Zhu Yuan's skills. If you plan to pull Trigger, you can swap Nicole for Trigger and maximize this potential for Zhu Yuan, but keep in mind that you lack a lot of buffs that a support can provide. A more free-to-play approach would be Zhu Yuan, Ambi, and Nicole. You can replace Ambi with Pulchra, but I would only recommend doing this if your Pulchra is at Mindscape 6. You can also run Caesar instead since she doubles as a support and a stunner. Replacing Nicole with Astra or running both of them is also a really strong option. Astra gives quick assist for Zhu Yuan, which helps generate shouts, and a full E13 can easily maintain corruption on the enemy for 100% uptime on chaotic metal. For bank duels, while Offset 2 offers good damage output on a Zhu Yuan Qingyi team, you almost never use the Qing attack, since this means reducing Zhu Yuan's stun window potential. Instead, I highly recommend using Resuna Bull for extra corruption build-up or any utility bank boost such as Snap, Night Bull, or Butler. And that's it for my Zhu Yuan guide. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below or join my Discord server, where I usually share early calculations and updates before working on my videos. Thank you so much for watching this video, have a beautiful day, and I'll see you in my next video.